The Blue Jays lose a heartbreaking finale in Boston as they fail to sweep the Red Sox and they fall to 8-6. But fortunately for the Blue Jays, they were able to win 3 out of 4 and take a one-game lead in the AL over Boston. I'm not normally a guy that gets into the umping in a game, but there were definitely some questionable calls, and it was specifically with the home plate umpire in this game. And I'll get into what I mean with some examples later on in the game. I won't say it was the sole cause of the loss, but it definitely didn't help. Anyways, we'll get into the recap here. First off by saying good job to both pitching staffs, as you know what, the run prevention has been pretty good this series. Top of 1, Walker Buehler pitching for the Red Sox. Bo Bichette singles to left. Andres Jimenez strikes out swinging. Santander singles to right, and Bichette moves up to second. So you've got first and second with 1 out in the first inning, a common theme. And then Springer, unfortunately, grounds into a double play, killing the inning. Bassett is in cruise control the whole way through. He was doing a really good job of mixing in his slow breaking balls, 68 miles an hour, 71 miles an hour, keeping the young Boston Red Sox hitters really off balance and making them look pretty goofy through most of the game. And Walker Buehler kept us in check for the most part as well. A few base runners here and there, but very minimal offense. Until we get into, where are we at here? The 6th inning, I believe. Yeah, so bottom of 6. Narvaez flies out for the Red Sox. Duran walks. Duran is an incredibly fast base runner, so immediately, as soon as he gets on first base, he's in scoring position, essentially. He steals second base. Rafael Devers flies out to right. Duran moves up to third. And then Bregman is able to single to left, bringing Duran in. So it's 1-0 Red Sox in the bottom of 6. Tristan Casas then singles to left, chasing Chris Bassett from the game. And Chad Green comes in and strikes out Trevor Story to end the inning. So it's 1-0 Red Sox through 6. They strike first. Walker Buehler still on the mound in the top of 7. Will Wagner works a walk. Ernie Clement flies out to center field. And then they go to Wilson out of their bullpen. Straw comes in to pinch hit for Alan Roden. And Miles Straw, of all people, singles down the left field line, moves Wagner up to second. Tyler Heineman comes up. He singles to left down the line. Wagner scores. Straw moves all the way around to third. So you've got first and third now. Vladdy Guerrero Jr., who had the day off, comes in to hit for Nathan Lucas. They brought in, of course, Wilson was a lefty, so they kept Guerrero on the bench waiting for this moment. Guerrero hits a lazy ground ball, but he hustles down the line, beats out the double play ball, so an out is made at second, but he's safe at first. The run scores, it counts. It's 2-1 Blue Jays now in the top of the 7th. Bichette's intentionally walked, and then Andres Jimenez grounds out to first base to end the inning. So 2-1 through 7, or through top of 7. No more scoring done until the bottom of the 8th. Brendan Little comes in to pitch. Rob Refsnyder safe at first on a fielding error by Wagner. Wagner was shaky today. This was probably the worst third base I've seen him play. Even on plays where there wasn't a clear error made, he had a double play ball hit to him, and he was just a little bit slow. It got stuck in his glove just that tiny bit, so he was able to get the out at second, but unfortunately they were unable to turn 2. And there is a difference between him and Ernie Clement in terms of defense. I know a lot of people have been saying they want Wagner in the games in place of Clement, but until we have a real sure-handed third baseman replacement who can hit better than Clement, he's got a spot on this team, because third base, the defensive subs later in the game are just so important, and it would have been really nice had we had Clement available to be in defense, defensively at this point. So anyways, Duran walks, Refsnyder moves up to second. Not what you want. Again, Duran is so fast that him on the bases is just a nightmare. Fortunately for us, Refsnyder's in front of him here, so you're not worried about him, causing too much havoc with the stolen bases and whatnot. Rafael Devers is struck out swinging by Brendan Little. Big out for him. He fell behind. I'm just going to pull this up real quick. Yeah, he fell behind 3-1, and he was throwing his sinkers low. He was close on, I think, 1, and then he kind of bounced the next 2 in, so it was looking pretty desperate there for a minute, and he throws 2 really good low sinkers, catching the bottom of the zone, and gets 2 swinging strikes from Devers. So really clutch stuff from Little. Jimmy Garcia comes in, gets Bregman to ground into a fielder's choice. Duran out at second. Refsnyder moves up to third. And then Refsnyder scores on a wild pitch. And this one really hurt because it was, I think it was a slider that went in the legs of Casas. It bounced right between his feet, hit off Heineman. Heineman couldn't find it. And unfortunately, the run was able to score on that play. So yeah, just really unfortunate. Kind of a bad pitch. Good job blocking it, but it ricocheted off him and he couldn't locate it in time, and yet the run scores. That's just how it goes sometimes. Not what you want to see, but is what it is. Tough play. 2-2 now, moving into the ninth. Aroldis Chapman comes in for Boston. Tyler Heineman again singles down the line. He got in front of, let's see which pitch this was. I don't remember. Yeah, it was a four-seam fastball. So Tyler Heineman is getting out in front of Aroldis Chapman fastballs in 2025 and tears it down the line. He's hyped up at first base. Guerrero Jr. comes up, flies out to center. Bo Bichette strikes out swinging, and Jimenez strikes out swinging. So Tyler Heineman has been leading this offense when he's been in the games, and unfortunately the big guys behind him, obviously Guerrero's batting ninth there because he came in to pinch hit for Nathan Lucas, and then the top of the order, Bichette and Jimenez, were unable to do anything. Bottom of 9, Jimmy Garcia still in the game, out for his second inning. He only got the one out in the previous inning, but yeah, he's back out for the ninth. And he gets, so Story leads off with a single to left. Campbell lines out. Abreu's intentionally walked. You've got first and second with one out. Rafaela strikes out, and then Sable strikes out. So really clutch stuff from Jimmy there. He did have to throw quite a few pitches, but he ended up getting through it. And we move on to extra innings at this point. So top of 10, Bernardino is in for Boston. Santander grounds out to the catcher, hit a little flubber in front of the plate, but Jimenez is able to move up to third base, and it was actually almost thrown away. The catcher just about underthrew Casas at first. But anyways, you got your first out, but the runner moves up in extras, and of course they started with a runner on second base in the 10th. Springer then hits a sac fly to right. You're kind of worried about Abreu's throw because he has a tremendous arm, but fortunately for us, he kind of spiked it into the ground and made a horrible throw, so Jimenez scored quite easily, making it 3-2 Blue Jays in the top of 10. Will Wagner then flies out to end the inning. So in extras, a one-run lead isn't really what you want, obviously with the runner starting on second. It's not ideal. You're almost expecting to let up one, and you're just hoping it's not two. Jarren Duran is up first with Sable on second to start the inning, and immediately he hits a ground ball, but it makes it through the middle infield, and Sable scores. Duran's on first base. Duran's then caught stealing by Tyler Heineman, and he threw out two runners this game. So with the bat and the throwing prowess, Tyler Heineman he's been everything you could hope for out of backup catcher. Anyways, Devers comes up and singles to center right after him. Basically the same spot as where Duran hit, only this one was in the air up the middle. And then Alex Bregman gets hit by a pitch. He had a 1-ball, 1-strike count, and he gets hit by a sinker that runs in off his elbow guard. Tristan Casas is then up. And this is where the umping really, really affected the outcome of the game. It had already affected it earlier, but this one really hurt us. As the count, he gets ahead 2 strikes right away, Nick Sandlin does. Then he throws a splitter in the dirt, and then he throws what's called ball 2, but it was a sinker through the zone. And I will bring up some screenshots of these after I'm done the recap, but this was strike 3 on a good hitter like Tristan Casas, and it would have made it first and second with 2 outs, but instead he ends up hitting him with the next pitch, which again is on Sandlin. You can't 100% blame the umpire, but this at-bat should have been over before he hit him. So it really, it grinds your gears when you're watching this go on throughout a good chunk of the game. And there's actually an account on Twitter that called Umpire Scorecards, and they put out the scorecards of the umpires after the game, how accurate they were and how much their calls impacted the outcome of the game and who got runs based on it and all that. So I'm really looking forward to seeing that scorecard when it comes out later on. So anyways, yeah, he ends up hitting Tristan Casas and then making it bases loaded 1 out instead of first and second with 2 out. Obviously a huge shift in the game right there in extra innings where at this point a run scores. Trevor Story is up, gets strike 1 looking, strike 2 swinging, sliders looking good. Ball 1, ball 2, you got a 2-2 count. He fouls one off, and then he hits a ground ball to Andres Jimenez. They had the infield playing in. Jimenez knew he had to rush to get the force play at home, and he bobbles it. He ends up pivoting and throwing it to first base and getting an out, but it was obviously a moot point there, as the run had already scored, making it 4-3 Red Sox. So, really heartbreaking stuff. The Blue Jays played, both teams played as hard as you could hope for. It was a well-fought game, but unfortunately, like I say, just a couple of those umpire calls and just a bit of bad luck cost us the game. Now, I'm going to pop up a couple of these calls, just the ones that were fresh in my mind that were the most egregious. And again, I'm going to look at the umpire scorecard to just see how bad it truly was, because I'm obviously a little bit biased cheering for the Blue Jays. But I feel like I'm being pretty fair here. So we'll flash back to, I believe it was the 5th inning with Bo Bichette. And if you look here, pitches 1 and 6 are called strikes. They're not just a little bit off the plate. These are inches off the plate getting called strikes. And, you know, Bo Bichette strikes out there with a man on base and 2 out when he should have walked. Or, you know, everything. So, obviously when he gets a call strike on him, the whole at-bat changes. The pitcher throws different pitches. The batter has a different approach, everything like that. So it's hard to say, you know, he would have walked, because had the call 1 not been a strike, the whole at-bat would have been different. But anyways, Bo Bichette should have at minimum walked there or had a different sequence of pitches to do something with. So really terrible stuff there, getting calls against you that are several inches off the plate. And then I move forward to later in the game. I believe this was around the 7th inning. And again, runner on second in scoring position. Full count, he ends up walking, so this one doesn't necessarily bite us. But if you look at pitches 4 and 5, these are called strikes, and they are several inches high. They're not even close to the strike zone. Then, right after this, Brendan Little comes out to pitch the 8th, and he's against Jarren Duran, who is an absolute nightmare on the base paths. He throws strike 1, foul ball. Pitch 2 is low. Pitch 3 is a strike, gets called a ball. It was close, whatever. And then pitch 5 is a strike as well. It gets called a ball. So he ends up walking Jarren Duran when 3 out of the 5 pitches were strikes. Now, I know they're borderline, but when you flash back to the previous ones there with Davis Schneider and Bo Bichette getting several inches off the plate, it's just night and day difference here. Anyways, then you move on. Here's the one from the 10th inning that ended up ultimately costing us the game. Nick Sandlin has 2 strikes on Tristan Casas, and pitch number 4 is the entire ball is in the strike zone. And it wasn't even a bad framing job or anything like that. It wasn't like Heineman's glove went like whirling off in behind the batter or anything. It was a good pitch. And it's called a ball, and then as you can see, the next pitch hits him. And ultimately, you end up with the bases loaded, 1 out, where that little squibbler ends up winning the game. So, I mean, again, I hate blaming the umpires like that, because it normally balances out over the course of a game and all that kind of stuff. But it really, really felt one-sided here. And ultimately, I felt like it really did have an impact on the way this one turned out. So, it's really unfortunate either way when an umpire has a very clear impact on the outcome, because it's not fair to the players on either side, really. But anyways, that's the way it goes. Blue Jays win 3 out of 4, so we can't really complain, but this one did sting a little bit. Anyways, let me know what you thought tonight. Did you see the umping the same way that I did? Was it pretty egregious in your mind? What else did you notice about this game? Who are you happy with? Who are you disappointed with? Yeah, let me know in the comments below. We'll talk to you guys later, all right?